Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Commander Clash podcast, where the Commander Clash crew discusses Commander-related topics, and today we're going to be talking about whether or not some common situations in Commander make you an a-hole or not, make you the jerk at the table for doing this. These are things that crop up very often in the subreddit, the EDH subreddit over on Reddit. You know, when the top trending thing will be like, am I a jerk for doing X, Y, and Z? Or, you know, things that crop up at tables where there is some ambiguity on them. Sometimes it's pretty clear cut. You know, am I the a-hole for taking out the person who is about to combo off next turn? It's like, no, you took to stop them. That's fine. We're talking about the more ambiguous
stuff. You are to the
stuff.
Combo player, but
yeah. I don't know.
They don't count.
Yeah. Am I the a-hole for providing food and water to everybody who came over? No, it's
yes,
fine.
Your kindness upsets me.
Yeah. You're putting up unrealistic expectations for the rest of us.
And it goes the other way too. I think it goes the other way too. If you're obviously raging or you punch someone to the table, yes, obviously that would count as being an a-hole. So there's no real reason to go over that stuff either.
Am I a jerk for literally flipping the table over because somebody countered my spell?
The answer would be yes.
All right, yeah, but those aren't the ones we're going to be talking about. We're diving at the more controversial ones. And joining me for this conversation, we have a little bit of a switch up. Richard is taking some time off of Commander Clash and the podcast, not because he got fired or anything, but rather because he has a newborn. And
he fires himself.
He fired himself. Oh, we'd be in trouble then. He's our only coder. He's taking a little bit of a break because he has a newborn and it's taking up a lot of his time, as you know, newborns often do. So joining him in his place is going to be a permanent member. This was a person who popped in a couple times on the podcast before, but Phil, aka Bruce Kitchen, thank you so much for filling Richard's shoes and joining us as a permanent member on the podcast. Hello.
Hello. I mean, I was here last episode.
Yeah,
but...
didn't we go over all this last episode? Yeah. I feel like this was... I'm having a flashback to last episode.
Oh, we did, yeah.
Yeah, we already kind of had the speech.
Phil is the brand new special guest, though. Yo.
That's all just Phil's intro now. We'll just do that for the whole season.
Yeah. You have to do it every time.
Phil, a.k.a. Richard Replacement. How's it going, Phil? All right. Next, we got Seth, a.k.a. Saffron Olive. How's it going, Seth?
Doing well, Tomer. How are you?
Doing well. Apparently, I have a memory of a goldfish, but that's okay. And then we got also Krim, a.k.a. the Asian Avenger. How's it going, Krim?
I woke up 5 minutes ago. I'm great.
Congratulations. On time.
Yeah.
Everything was great.
Yeah. This is great.
Excellent. Hopefully, you're going to be super awake and pumped up for this engaging topic, which will certainly perk you up. Hooray.
Sure am.
Two thumbs. And then hello, this is Summer. Let's jump into the situations, and I'm going to kick things off with a situation that feels like I don't even know if I have a proper response for this. But it's the idea of conceding before the rest of the table agrees to concede unanimously. We often say that conceding is free. You can concede at any time. And I think that's very true in 1 versus 1. But it is a little bit more complicated in multiplayer, where if you concede, that doesn't mean necessarily that the game has ended. So what do you all think about conceding early on before the rest of the table agrees to concede in Commander?
I think that it currently does make you an a-hole in most play groups, but I also think that it shouldn't, and that people should be able to concede if they want to without feeling like they're being the jerk at the table, because Commander games are really long. I've never really understood why, if you're not having fun and you're stuck on mana and not in the game, why is there some sort of commitment, social contract, where you have to sit there and not have a good time for another 2 hours while everyone else is having a good time? If you're having a good time, I'm not saying that just because your mana screwed you can't have a good time at the game or whatever, but if you feel like, I'm just done with this and I don't feel like playing anymore, shouldn't you be able to scoop without feeling that way? So I think it is generally frowned on, but I don't know if it should be. I kind of think that it shouldn't be frowned on and shouldn't make you the jerk at the table.
Depends on the play group, right? I mean, if you just go into your LGS and play with random people and sit there drawing no lands, I guess I would say, hey, I'm gonna pack it up here. But if I'm playing with my play group and sit there with them afterwards after scooping, that would be at least weird and a bit rude as well. It really depends on the play group. I mean, if you ever played a random match on Magic Online, 50% of the people just scoop after half an hour, no matter what happens. So, and that feels very boring, rude, however you want to call it. I mean, I'm not gonna force somebody to play with me, but it feels weird at least.
I don't think it's like a bad thing, much like Seth said. I guess at the point you do the concession is really how it comes down to it. Like, example, if you like, I'm like, oh, I despise green cards, and you play a forest, and I concede because you play a forest, right? Like that, like you know what I mean? Like that makes you an a-hole. But
that's you're insulting that other player. Be like, ugh, I don't like you because of what deck you play, so I'll instant scoop.
Exactly. Like that is a different story. But if it were like, yeah, like much like Seth had mentioned, or, you know, you've been playing for 2 hours and you're still on 2 lands, then sure, go ahead and concede, you know, because like you're not doing anything anyways, right? So, like, yeah, and also as somebody who, like, you know, if you see it happen and someone does concede early in your match, I wouldn't be upset by it because, hey, that's one less of an opponent. So, great.
I'm so torn on this because I think the difference between multiplayer and 1 versus 1 is if you concede, then the game is over in 1v1, and then you just move to the next game. In multiplayer, though, if you concede, you're directly affecting everybody who's still in the game. Like, let's say one person is the archenemy, and then you scoop, and you're not the archenemy. You just scoop. That means the other 2 people have one less resource person to help them, you know, balance out the archenemy. And in some regard, it can act a little bit as kingmakey at the point where you're just conceding. And then also how you concede too. Like Krim said, if you're just conceding because you see like a forest or something, or like, I don't know, you didn't hit your 3rd land because you had a greedy keep or something like that, and then you just scoop. I see that sometimes in Magic Online, by the way. Or like somebody does like a Jewel Lotus, Sol Ring, and then somebody swords it, and then like your response to your commander being swords on a turn 1 Jewel Lotus, it's a snap concede. I've seen that also on Magic Online. Again, all anonymous, so they're much more easy to scoop it up. I feel like that's kind of like a little bit BM. And also, I don't think I've ever had a situation where I'm playing with people that I know where they conceded early. Like, it just seems weird if you're with a bunch of friends and you're like, ugh, I'm not doing this well in this game, so I'm just going to leave, but I'm just going to hang around now while I left, but I didn't really leave. Then it's like, why do you leave? You could stick in. I mean, there could be a comeback. Like, you're not...
And I think there's a big difference between, like, playing on Magic Online and playing with friends, too. Because if you're playing with your friends, like... most people are just trying to have a good time with their friends, and the game is like event. It facilitates that. But it's getting together to hang out with your friends. It wouldn't really make a difference if you're playing a video game or playing Commander or whatever. So the point is to be with your friends. So scooping in that context does seem really weird. On the other hand, I don't think you should feel committed to, you know, someone drops a bunch of stacks pieces on Moto, and you're just like, I'm not going to do anything this game. I'm not having fun. I don't feel like you have to feel like you're committed to sitting there and playing it out for another hour in that context, because you also are, like, theoretically playing that game to have a good time. And if it gets to the point where you're just not having a good time, I don't think there's a problem with, like, stopping and starting another game or whatever, if that's going to be more enjoyable.
Does that not line up, though, with, like, example, if you drop a card I don't like and I concede?
Yeah. I mean, if it locks you out of the game.
But at the same time, like, are you under some commitment to keep playing if you're not having fun? Like, I'm thinking at it like, no. I don't know. I'm thinking at it from I don't know if it's a card you don't like or a card that makes the game unfun. I think there's a difference between, like, I just hate green and you play a forest and I'm like gonna scoop the game, and you stick a Blood Moon and you stick a Trinisphere and then you Jackal Hops, like, or whatever. Like, I don't think that's scooping because you dislike the card. It's just that the game state is not going in an enjoyable way. I don't know if maybe that's not a distinction that's worth making, but
I guess, because I feel like that falls under almost the same thing. Like, it's splitting hairs there, I guess, but
then, but then isn't that saying, like, but maybe if you look at it from the other side, like, should someone be able to just play all those miserable cards and expect the rest of the table to just, like, bear with them as they essentially troll the table for 2 or 3 hours? That makes the person playing that way the a-hole at the table, and the people who scooped are actually the good guys.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess I've never seen a deck that has made me personally just like instant concede. So that's why. So I will sit and play and be miserable for the next hour and a half, I guess.
I'm looking at it a little bit from, like, playing 60 card formats too, where I think, like, Blood Moons and Trinospheres, I love playing that way, but I also, like, don't expect my opponent to be locked out of the game and just sit there and keep being like, oh, draw my card, go, like, let you take up your Planeswalker. Like, I don't expect that. I expect them to scoop once I lock them out of the game. Like, that's kind of my win con, is locking them out of the game. So, but maybe it's different in Commander. I feel like Commander would be better in those scenarios if everyone just agreed to scoop. And you're like, okay, the person, they won by staxing us out of the game. It's going to take you another hour to actually get all of our life totals to 0. So we declare you the winner. Let's shuffle up again and play another game. Like, that's probably the ideal solution, I would say.
And then if you don't like that deck, if the group decides they don't like that deck, you can ask them to switch to a different deck for game 2. You'd be like, all right, you pulled off your stacks lock. We all saw it.
You got us.
We concede to you. Now, would it be possible if you could swap to something else for game 2? You know, we don't want to experience that again. We got one. And I just think of it as like a social event, right? Like, Commander's just kind of a social event. So, like, you're all trying to have fun, but you're trying to have fun as a group. So, like, you know, that's why, like, talking about what people want to play at the beginning is important and stuff. And that's why I kind of feel like weird when somebody just, like, concedes midway, because it's like you're just friends, just hang out, and it's like, I'm gonna opt out of hanging out with you now. It's like, I don't know, a little weird.
What if it's not friends?
I mean,
when it's not friends.
What about a casual table?
Sure,
or
like an LGS
random
or something.
Yeah, like a random table. Obviously, I don't know if anyone's like bringing hard stacks to a casual table, so.
I mean, I'm a little offended because I've tried to be your friend for 12 straight seasons, Tomer, and I have been rejected in my offer of friendship many, many times over our game. So,
what type of friendship are we talking about? I don't know. This is
we're friends, right?
Hurts. We are definitely the closest of friends. And also, like, if you have to concede for any reason that's not like, I don't like XYZ card, that's silly. Go like, oh, I have to go pee, or like I have to poop. I have a really long poop. I don't know how long it's gonna be, and just go. You just concede, it's fine. Or like, I don't know, have baby aggro or something.
Or you house rule it. You've Teferi's protection for the next 25 minutes.
You're like, your wife is going into labor and you have to stick it out. You can't go. You gotta finish the game.
I don't know how you ended up in that game in the first place, but
Abyssal Persecutor on the board. Sorry. Sorry, bud. You can't leave.
I don't know, it's weird. It's strange. It's like, at the same time, like, yeah, I don't think you should be locked into games that you're not enjoying, but like, also, like, I don't know. What if I don't enjoy not being in first place or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. I enjoy not being in the dominating position. I got mana screwed. I should just scoop or something. I don't know. It's so weird.
I think
there's a lot of gray
concessions, like, it all comes down to context. Like, usually, like, how you do it, when you do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's really all it comes down to, right? Because at the end of the day, like, if, as I had mentioned, like, oh, you play, I can see, like that's a dickish move.
Like, if somebody concedes all the time on Magic Online because, like, I blew up their turn 1 Sol Ring or something, then I'm gonna just put them on a block list, right? Like, I don't want to play with them again. Like, I don't think that's a normal thing. Like, most people in person will not do this, but when you're anonymous, it brings out the worst in people.
Oh, yeah.
So,
like, I got scooped on.
Oh, go ahead, Phil.
Oh, okay. I got scooped on a bunch of time in when I test decks for Commander Clash. And I think I never scooped so far because I kind of feel... First of all, I'm named Brewer's Kitchen on MTGO, so if they know me, they'll have this, oh, Brewer's Kitchen just scooped on me. It feels just feels kind of rude, but I think what Krim says is like the context matters a lot. Like if you concede to, hey, I play a Jeweled Lotus and my commander is 5 mana and I'm gonna play it now. If you concede to that, that's super boring. If they say, I play this, then play my commander, and then establish a lock piece that will lock all of you, then you can scoop it and say, at least let them do it. I mean, I know it from my videos. I'm like, when I play weird combos and people scoop before I can do the thing, that just, I mean, yeah, you can leave the game and nobody can force you to play the game, but it is kind of inherently rude to not let, I mean, you start the game to play the game and then you say to your opponent,
I have such mixed feelings about that, because I also make those kind of videos, and on one hand it's certainly frustrating to see people scoop. On the other hand, sometimes I feel like I'm the one being a jerk because I'm like doing this thing for 20 minutes, and is it unfair for the opponent for me to expect them to sit there as I like draw my entire deck and make infinite mana? Like, am I the one that's like,
no, you're not, or something? You were 100% not. You were 100% not.
As someone told me, if you told me that it's going to take 20 minutes for you to do your thing while I have to be there, sure, I would just leave.
Well,
yeah, but if you're just like, I'm going to blow up all your lands with this one spell, and it takes you like a minute or two to do it, then like, yeah, for sure, I got a minute or two. But if you're like, do you have 20 minutes while you just watch me? I'm like, no.
No, I mean,
actually.
Like, if you draw your entire deck, your opponent can scoop, of course, because they present how they finish you. But finishing for like, oh, they removed my commander, and then I don't want to, like, there's like, after or while you're in the process of already having achieved something, not saying you have to pull the whole thing through and mill your opponent out card by card, but if they just scoop out of intimidation or frustration, that's the worst. The other one, of course I can. Like, I'm not sitting through Heliod infinite combos.
Once you've shown what the combo is, you don't really need to sit through it. It's like, I've seen it.
I will time you out, though. I would
like,
time you out. If this is online, I would sit there and make you do it.
Of course you would.
My takeaway from this is just plain paper. Like, my takeaway is, like, people are a lot nicer in paper. What do you see when you're face-to-face with people? But people can be real jerks online. Like,
you can't play all the sweet alchemy cards, though. No.
All the sweet... Oh, boy. All right. What?
I will say that I think how you scoop plays into whether you're the jerk or not as well, because I firmly believe, I see there's kind of like a second part to your question about like, what if you scoop to like fizzle a trigger or something?
That's what I was going to bring up.
That is 100% you're the jerk. Like, if you... I think, because there's no reason you have to do that. Like,
let me just explain what scooping to deny triggers means, though. Like, let's say you are going to die, and somebody swings at you for lethal, and they have like either they have some sort of benefit from hitting you, like doing the damage or resolving whatever spell. Like, let's say they have lifelink. Let's say they're about to take an extra combat step when they deal combat damage. Let's say they have a sword trigger that's going to draw them a card or something. And you know you're going to die, and you scoop early before that happens. So I just wanted to give the context. All right, what do you think, Seth?
I mean, if your intention is to do that to manipulate the game, I view that as being a jerk. Like, that's my feeling. That's not part of the game. Concessions, I don't think, should be used to control what's happening on the battlefield. If you gotta go, you gotta go, and I'm not going to hold that against you. But there's really no reason in a situation like that you can't wait literally one more second to let the combat damage happen, or let the trigger resolve and then scoop. Or if you really had to go, scoop before that happened, when there's not the potential for the triggers to be on the stack. So I think that is always... it's hard for me to construct a situation where that wouldn't make me think you were kind of the jerk at the table.
True. 100%.
Sure.
Pretty lenient. I'm a pretty lenient guy, but I think that's a Weenie Hut Jr. move. That is not cool.
In fact, if we were playing paper, I would say I would probably advise maybe having a house rule where if somebody does do that, you just assume that like the combat triggers and everything happen, like they scoop after whatever the thing was resolves, right? I think that's good.
This one is really Magic Online, folks, right? The group will probably tell you, obviously you get the Toski triggers or whatever. But I had a match a week ago or something where my opponent did this on accident. So they scooped in the middle of my turn while I was thinking, but I needed their colors of mana for my exotic orchard. And then after they scooped, I was just about to cast the spell, and then I just thought, oh, now I don't have blue mana anymore. So this was definitely not... Nobody was an a-hole in this one.
They didn't intend to screw you over. It was unintentional. So I think that's fine. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I think it's fine. But yeah,
and in paper you could just say, I tap it before you scoop or something.
Yeah. I think this is like directly affecting the game with you conceding, whereas conceding before everybody else agrees affects it indirectly, but I think it's more ambiguous there. But this one is pretty like non-ambiguous. It's like, yeah, don't do this, please. It's bad manners.
Yeah.
All right. So conceding and when we should concede, we covered that. We'll move on to the next topic. Krim, what do you got for us?
So kind of like to piggyback on some things that you don't like seeing at tables or something like that.
Green.
Green. Like green as an archetype or combo control. I wanted to talk about like playing combo control, I guess, at casual tables, and I do think that specifically some of these archetypes do get unnecessary amount of hate. You may not have to like the archetype, but I do think they are acceptable at casual tables, right? So, like example, if you see a combo player, but their combo is like 19 pieces, are you really that upset at a casual table? Or if I'm playing a control deck, look, everybody hates control, but when you need something answered, who's there, right? So I'm just saying, it's the devil, I guess. I think that it's totally warranted and acceptable to play these archetypes at casual, though. You may not like them, you don't have to like them, and just because you don't like these archetypes does not mean that that's a sweaty tryhard. You're CDHing right now, like that. It's not CDH just because it's a control deck. It's not CDH because it's combo.
I feel like this is where the pregame Rule Zero stuff really comes into play. I would agree that it's like not wrong to play those things in casual, but I also would say like if you sat down with a random play group and you were like, hey, I'm playing this like combo deck or I'm playing this Drago control deck, and someone was like, that's just, I'm not feeling that right now, I'd rather play against something else, I also would say that person is probably not being an a-hole in a casual format. So
I would.
Really? So you think people should have to play again? Well, I would say that, like, if the goal of Commander is to have fun, you should be able, like, why do we have a pregame Rule Zero conversation? Why do we even do that if it doesn't matter? Like, if your feelings about how you want the game to play out, like, don't matter, and you should just play with whoever is there anyway, why do we even encourage people to have a Rule Zero conversation or a pregame conversation? Isn't that the whole point of doing that?
To sync up the power levels of the deck, though, right?
Well,
I think it's to control your experience, to make sure you're going to have a good time. Like, I would say if you go to a Magic Fest and you're like, hey, I'm going to play, I don't know, like, whatever hardcore Drago deck or a combo deck, and someone's just like, I just don't feel like playing against that right now. Like, I'm sorry, I'm going to look for another table. I would say that you both were perfectly in the right and no one was being a jerk in that scenario.
What if, like, I guess because my thing here is, no one's ever in the mood to play against a control deck. Second up, I think that it's totally, I don't know. I don't want to make it so that you're not able to play your favorite playstyle, your favorite deck. Just and that's the main thing here. I would rather, I am A-okay with sitting there and getting counterspelled out of the game if that's your favorite archetype.
But if someone just doesn't want to deal with that, aren't there enough games going on that everyone can be happy, and the person who doesn't want to deal with that experience can have the experience they want, and you can have the experience that you want? Like, does it have to be an either-or proposition? Or are there enough Commander players in the world that everyone can be happy and have the experience that they're looking for, basically?
I don't think it's an either-or kind of situation, but quite often I do find that if I were to say, like, hey, like the amount of times that I'm forced to sit there, I feel more miserable having to play decks that I don't want to play. Or like example, that is why I think most people, I tell everybody, play what you want to play. I've been to Command Fests, and if you played against me in Command Fest, you know I've said this to you too. I don't care what you're doing. Just have fun and play what you want to play. So I appreciate people asking. The courtesy's there. So I don't think there is an either or in the situation, but I genuinely would rather everyone just feel comfortable playing whatever they want to play.
I think it's really tough because I think when it comes down to it, it's like the social thing, and that like the main reason people play Commander is to have fun. And if you tell someone before the game that the deck you're playing is a deck that they, for some reason, feel they're not going to have fun playing against, I feel like that kind of goes against what the spirit of the format is. You should be able to play the deck that you enjoy playing, but that person should also be able to play against decks that they enjoy playing. Like, I feel like there's a way that everyone should be able to come out a winner in this scenario, honestly. Instead of having, like, some person feel like they have to play against a combo deck that they don't want to play against. Like, there's some commitment because someone said they're playing combo that they have to be in that pod and play that game. Like, that feels weird to me, that you would be, like, somehow obligated to play against the archetype that you don't find fun when there's other options.
Again, like, I don't think that there is specific anything wrong with, like, you know, example, like you can definitely go find another player or another pod or something like that if you don't want to play against a control deck. But I don't know. Quite often, I do find it a little. It's not like hard. Like, yeah, okay, you're easily an a-hole. I think what it is more like I find it a little more interesting that so many people just don't. I just rather people play whatever they want to play. Is that not easier? Like, I feel like that's just so much easier. Every discussion that I have in every pod is just play whatever you want to play, is like without having to like add but these stipulations of I don't like this. Because legitimately, I say it as a joke, but like it's often said as a joke. But like if you actually like, I do despise ramp decks, right? Like I do despise ramping. I genuinely despise ramping, but I still play with you, right? And you may not view it the same, but I view it on a different level, right? So, like, yeah, like, I don't know. I just, that's why I find it easy to just say, I don't care. Play whatever.
I feel like the context comes into it, too, because I think it just really depends on so many variables. Like, if I was at a Command Fest and I just came off a 3-hour game against 2 control decks and someone else came up to me and was like, hey, I want to play you with my super sweet control deck, there's a chance that I might just be like, I'm sorry, like, deck is awesome. It sounds really cool, but I'm just not feeling a 3-hour control battle right now. Like, no offense to you, no offense to your deck. I don't think you're wrong for playing that deck. I have nothing against you, but just, like, it's not right for me at the moment. And I don't think I would be being a a-hole if I did that to someone.
I actually had this did happen, and I did just say, hey, that's fine, but but I'm like, hey, is it cool if I add a little asterisk of I might need to concede because I have to go do something if the game runs too long. So I guess that was the difference.
That could also work.
That's one way to see. I remember this was something we talked about where we were talking about stacks in Commander in a previous podcast, and it was just like, yeah, it's fine to play against stacks, and I'm cool with stacks, but like, let's say I only have like an hour, 2 hours, and I just don't have time for a 3-hour game. So yeah, I think either having a caveat at the beginning being like, hey, I only have like 2 hours of time and then I have to go. So as long as everybody's cool with it, like you play your grindy deck, but I have to leave at this minute sharp, and then I assume everybody's going to be cool with that. Or in that case, like we could also say like, you know, how much time does everybody have? Do we only have like an hour and a half, 2 hours? Maybe we should play more aggressive decks then. And I think that's fine too. But I also like agree with Grim. There's times like if I just asked people like, hey, can I play my Toshiro deck? Like choose between my Toshiro control deck versus literally any of my aggro decks. Everybody will pick the aggro deck. I've had that at like conventions and stuff where I'm like, here's the 2 options: either Toshiro control, which is kind of mid power, maybe lowish power, or my Perforos aggro Dragon Tribal deck, which is like mid to high. They pick the Perforos deck, even if it's much stronger, because they don't want Toshiro blowing up their creatures and stuff. So if I gave them the option every single time, I probably would walk away with never playing Toshiro in that game. However, if I just say like, hey, I'm playing Toshiro, is that cool? People will say yes. So it's also like how you couch it. Like people will always prefer you to play something that doesn't interact with them over something that does, I feel, if you give them the options. But if you just say like, hey, I'm running this, if anybody has any objections, just let me know. usually people are just cool with it, and then you can get what you want. And I think it is important because like Toshiro is one of my second favorite deck. So I do want to play it, and I think it's important. Like just as people don't want to play certain things, I think it's important that that person is also allowed to play their thing too, and it's a give and take. Like sometimes I won't play it every deck, every game, but like I like an opportunity to play it, just like you would like an opportunity to play against non-interactive decks. I don't know. I don't know.
That's a big point, though, right? We're talking about control here because combo doesn't have all these problems. People don't play against control because they are interacted with, but the problem with combo is that they don't have much interaction. So it's basically two things that are completely opposite.
I have a rant on that one. I have such a rant
sure,
because every single time
yeah.
everybody says you can't have infinites. No infinite combos. Every single time you're at like a casual event, no infinite combos. I'm allowed to like kill you turn 5 with my aggro deck, but no infinite combos. Like I'm Animaring out Eldrazi Titans on turn 6.
But you have an infinite?
But no infinite combos. There's no Ancestral Statue in this one. There's no Cloudstone Curio combo, so it's fine. And it's like, wait, really? My infinite combo that costs like it's a 20 mana investment. It's a 5-card combo. It's easily interacted with because they're all creatures. All of that is still an infinite combo. Therefore, it's not allowed. Like it's the dumbest thing. Like it's just like. You want to match power levels, right? If I have a really bad low power infinite combo deck, it's still going to be less powerful than your typical tuned aggro deck. And it's just like it's the most frustrating thing when you sit at like a casual table and they're like no infinite combos. Like, oh, I guess I have to put away my jank 6-card combo thing that requires 30 mana. I guess that's not okay. I'll just beat you down with my random ass Xenagos Stompy deck. I guess that's what I'm allowed to play. And
did you just say 6-piece combo that requires 30 mana? Do you consider the Cauldron setup a combo?
You know what? I wouldn't be allowed to play. Yeah, my worst deck is my Mech Titan Cauldron deck. It's literally the worst deck. I've played it like 16 times now. It's won a single time. It's awful. It's a god awful deck.
Glorious.
And yeah, it's failed so many times. And if you said no infinite combos, I wouldn't be allowed to run it. Like that's how dumb it is.
I mean, that's like, why I said this. Like, I do understand people not wanting to play against control, but with combos, I'd say
I don't understand that at all. But okay.
Yeah, sure. I would play against control as well, but it makes sense if you interact with them that they say, "Hey, I came here to execute my game plan, and your deck is actively trying to stop me from doing this." The combo hate is a little weird. Like, if you play a Thassa's Oracle Consultation, that's boring if you're not CEDHing. But a lot of the decks in Clash that we play end with a combo because we have a janky theme or something. And nobody's saying, well, that was broken. This, as you said, 6-card combo. It's just
because the context
isn't usually
there,
easier to kill in combat. So
the context isn't there. Like, they just say no infinite combo. But, like, they don't say no aggro decks because, somebody has, like, a tuned Edgar Markov deck. Nobody says no aggro. But they mean, like, we want aggro decks, but we want to hit a certain power level. But for some reason, combos are just lumped together. Like, a Kiki Jiki combo, 2-card combo, is lumped together with my 6-card Cauldron combo. Like, that's where the two... there's just one category for both. It's the dumbest thing.
Is that how people actually take it? Like, if someone says no infinites, do they mean like your Mech Titan combo or whatever, like your Cauldron combo?
I hope not, but if they say I don't like infinite combos,
I'm actually
going to
like
take that risk.
I'm actually sort of curious.
I'm presenting the loop.
There's got to be some sort of levels to it. Like, I could understand a casual table not wanting to be Thoracled or like Godo Helmed or whatever, just because it's going to be too high power for the table. But like, obviously, if you're doing some 6-piece against the odds Cauldron combo or something, like, that's very different. Like,
so why don't you say no 2-card combo? Just say that, no 2-card combo. Like, that is, if that's what you mean, then just say that. Don't say no infinite combo, because then you're putting my Cauldron combo in the same category as Thoracle. Like, just it's dumb. I hate it so much.
That makes sense. I can see
really
that.
Rustles my jimmies.
And that kind of like this is a little bit to swing in. So that was like in defense of like combo, but then also in defense of like control. I also think that the idea, hear me out, maybe you. This is a take that might upset people, but like, hear me out. What if I don't have to actually kill you after a board wipe? What if I just don't want you to automatically win and free roll your way through a game? Like there's a lot of things going on in the like in the casual space where it's like, if you board wipe, you should win after.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
see that a lot on Twitter.
Oh god,
Right.
I'm just like, what? Well, if you play a land, you have to win. How about that?
No, this is the most common one. This shows up like a couple times on Twitter. I don't know if this is like a normal thing in your play groups. Let us know in the comments section. But like, this has popped up a few times where there's a concept that if you cast a Cyclonic Rift overloaded, you have to win immediately afterwards. Or else you're like, you should concede.
What?
It's like, what? I'm not allowed to reset the board unless I'm about to win the game. Like, obviously don't like have Cyclonic Rift in like Infinite Archaeomancer loop. Like, that's a little bit obnoxious.
But is that a combo?
It's not a combo.
It's
It's just really annoying. It's just really annoying because you can stop. You can interact with it eventually, but like it slows the game down a lot. And like, I get that. I get not doing that. But like, the idea of just like, you're not allowed to wipe. You're not allowed to wipe the board after turn 7. Some nonsense like that, like an arbitrary number. As if people even keep track of turns in paper too. Like, I was playing a CEDH game last night, and we were like, "What turn is it?" And we had to like backtrack on who put lane drops and stuff on like turn, and we're like, "Oh, it's turn 5." And it's like, "Oh, but on turn 7, you're not allowed to wipe any more boards. It's illegal." It's like, what? What are you talking about?
There's so many arbitrary like rules that just get added in. I'm like, okay, all right, sure, okay.
I mean, I sometimes propose a battle cruiser week for Commander Clash, and we didn't do it yet because, I mean, if we say no board wipes, no counters, you can immediately just say, oh yeah, so I crater with you all easily. Like, if you know your playgroup doesn't allow roughs, there's no way you can't build around that so easily.
I'm jamming golf ball every time.
Yes,
like, easy.
You can just nothing can like this does make now that you say it, I've seen this
so
take
hard.
on Twitter. And you gotta have board wipes, even aggro decks. I mean, Krim will tell you.
And I wonder how much of it comes down to just people's desires and expectation for the game. Like, how much of it is like, if we just keep wrapping boards every turn, this game's going to be 4 hours. And we even know from Commander Clash that sometimes we get to 3 hours and someone's like, I'm really hungry. Like, will this game please end? And we're like making content and like trying to be, is enjoying as much as possible. So I wonder how much of it's like the expectation that people have going into the game is like, I want to play a game that's an hour and a half. And then someone else has a different expectation, which is I want to, blow up everything as much as possible, which that's not, neither of those things are wrong, but maybe like people's expectations aren't meeting in a way that's going to lead to a game that makes everyone happy. I don't know the solution to that, but I feel like that kind of stuff is where I actually do think the pregame conversation is important, because if you have one person that's buckled in for the long haul and ready for a 4-hour, battle, and you got another person who's like, I got to be somewhere in an hour and a half, maybe you should not play that game, or maybe you should change how you're going to play that game so everyone can be happy with how it goes.
Honestly, like, sure that like Rule 0 resolves a lot of things. I think if you have that pregame conversation, but I guess like when it comes to that kind of stuff, I kind of just would rather just be like, oh, well, I have this much time. I don't care what you play, but I have to leave at this time.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Although, is it an unfulfilling result for everyone if like you're an hour and a half into a 2.5 hour game and someone's just like, peace out? Like, would it be better if you played different decks to try to maybe complete the game in that amount of time?
I think that plays into it too. Option to switch out, be like, you can still play it if you really want to, but if you want the game to be over, you could swap out, and then it's on that person to choose whether they still want to play control or not. I think that's kind of nice.
That makes sense.
I mean, I don't think a control player has an issue with you conceding.
That is their win con.
That would be easier than me using Castle Ardenvale, Commander All-Star, by the way.
They swap out their finishers for just more counter magic. Like, sweet. Yeah, I wish the vocabulary was a little bit better. That's what it really comes down to. I agree with Seth. Like, I think if I was talking Rule 0, it'd be like, what turn, like what general turn do you want the game to end on? Like, do you like that'd be like, I want it to end after like turn 5. That would stop, like the turn 1 fast mana, I win the game sort of stuff. That would like preclude that. And then the other question I would be like, is like, how much time does everybody have? And then we just calibrate from there. Like, all right, like, I want to play my control deck. We only have an hour and a half. I'm okay with you guys conceding if the game goes long. Like, okay. And then we just play.
Yeah. Works for me.
Yeah. Or just play whatever. It usually works out. Like if we're all like cool with each other, then it's going to work out. And if it doesn't work out, then for the next game pretty fast. Like you have a fast game and they're like, all right, this was too strong. I'm going to swap it out for XYZ. And it's like, cool. I'm going to keep it as is, give it another shot. And yeah. All right. Moving on. Seth, what do you got for us? You have a good one.
I got one that I struggle with personally, which is killing someone early. Is it okay to take someone out relatively early in the game? And what if that person is having mana trouble, let's say? What if they got off to a bad start? Maybe they're missing some land drops. Is it okay to just focus your attacks on that person and take them out? Because from the perspective of, like, wanting to win the game, getting a player out of the game is pretty beneficial. That's one less person that could potentially beat you. But from the perspective of, like, wanting to have a fun experience for the whole table, are you making the game less fun for that person as you brutally beat them down because the magic gods, frowned and didn't give them any lands this game? So what do you think about taking someone out early? And does it matter what their draw is like, if they're mana screwed or whatever?
Hi, resident mana screwed person. Kill me. Put me out of my misery. Kill me. Please kill me. Don't take... I'm all for less feel bads. I don't want you to feel bad because you did something in Commander. Do whatever it is. Like, and if I'm mana screwed, that's not your problem. I got greedy. I kept a greedy hand, right? Like, I don't feel like you should pull punches because of it. Like, if it is strictly correct, kill me. Please kill me. I'm stuck on 3 mana. Please kill me. For the love of God, kill me.
I don't think it's bad manners either way. I think it would be nice not to do that. But if you think it's going to give you a significant advantage in the game, I think it's correct to do so because you're playing to win usually at a casual event. I mean, you don't have to always be playing to win. Sometimes you'd be like, hey, I want to let you draw cards because you're falling behind, so I'm going to I'm running cards like Secret Rendezvous specifically to make sure everybody has a chance to play, and that's totally fine too. Usually I try to build decks that I think are equal power, and then I try to pilot them to just increase my win percentage as best as I can. So in that case, like if I think killing you is going to increase my win percentage, then I think that's a good idea. Sometimes I think it's actually wrong to kill a person because I think it will decrease your win percentage. Like let's say there's an arch enemy at the table that you're behind and that person's behind. Killing them will probably lower your win percentage because you need their resources to help you defeat the other person. And I remember there was a situation where, like, I remember Phil killed me in a recent Commander Clash, and I was like, Richard's, like, way ahead than both of us. Why are you killing me right now? We could work together. And Phil just killed me, and I was like, I don't understand. And then he cast Farewell immediately afterwards, and I'm like, oh, he had Farewell, so Richard was just dead. Like, Richard, he killed me, and then he basically took Richard out of the game, and by taking me out and having Richard basically out because his board got exiled, he basically was securing victory there. And that made a lot of sense to me. If he didn't have the Farewell, I would be like, what are you doing, Phil? We could have worked together a little bit. But he had Farewell. I did not know that information. He immediately followed up with it, and I think that was really smart.
Another question also with me and Toma. Remember when in Richard Week, where in the middle of a 3-hour game, I could have killed you with a Vorpal Sword attack?
Yeah.
And I didn't do. I'm still not sure. Like, this would be the perfect. Well, I can't kill somebody. Do I do it? You were never scary to anybody in this game playing Kithkin. So I'm not sure if that was. I should have done it. I mean, obviously for content it would be bad, and I would honestly feel bad. You were just so far behind the table. You don't get anything in Commander from killing somebody.
You kind of do, though. That's like plus like 50 cards because you don't have to spend resources, right?
Well, but you can use it as an allyship. You can say, I'm not going to kill you, and in return, you do X, Y, Z for me. Because I was in a position where, like, I was I was totally behind, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
you were
killing
so
me.
far behind. You didn't even have to offer me anything. I didn't even go like, "Oh, I don't kill you, and you don't attack me, but you're not gonna attack anybody in this game anyway."
But you can be like, if you have any removal, I want you to remove XYZ for me. And then you're basically gaining resources that way. Like, I was in a position where, like, I had nothing. I cannot threaten you in any meaningful way at the moment. So I would like to stay in the game because that would increase my win percentage. So if you said, like, I'll keep you alive, but for the next X turns, you can't attack me. And also, like, the next removal spell you find, you have to use it on Seth something or whatever. Then I would say, yeah. And then I think that would increase your win percentage. But also for the memes, for viewer thing, maybe that's fine to kill me as well. But I think for a win percentage, it's probably better to keep me alive and just use me as a bargaining chip.
Yeah. Oh, imagine I killed you and then Richard obliterates. Jeez.
Oh yeah.
I always feel so bad. There's been times on Commander Clash where I've like had the opportunity to one-shot someone or take someone out early, and I really struggle with it, and I really don't know the answer to this one. Like, I feel like it makes me the jerk at the table, because we're trying to play a game of Commander, and everyone's, like, trying to have a good time, but at the same time, I'm like, ugh, like, in the end, all except one of us have to die.
Yeah.
Like, and like that's how the game of Commander ends, is people, getting taken out of the game. So I don't know the answer to this one. I think there's a lot of gray area.
I don't even think there should be a gray area, really. Like, I think that it's better to reduce the number of feel bads in Commander, right? Like, and like making people like worry about like some things like this. And I think if you can do it, do it. Like, right? Because at the end of the day, the only reason you shouldn't do it is you think you can leverage keeping me around.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I am a liability to you, right? like,
what if we take it to the next level? What if you just, like, brutally keep only attacking the person who stumbles on mana? Like, is that still okay? Someone stumbles on lands, and, like, rather than spreading the love at all, you're just like, attack you, try to get that. We got to kill them before they draw a land and do anything. Like, that's also fair game.
I would say that is a little bit different, right? Like, if you're just the goal is to make it so that they've been trying to play their chromatic lantern and they're on 2 mana, like, and you're trying to stop that.
We got to get them.
Yeah, can't have them having all the colors. Like, okay, that makes you kind of an a-hole. But if it's like, hey, I need to hit you because you're the only person open, and I need to see if I can get like this curse trigger or the triggers off my creature. I get it. Like, I understand.
I mean,
that's right.
That's not even a feel bad. That happens literally all the time, and nobody even thinks
game,
twice. Like, somebody has an attack trigger, and is like, well, I need to attack, and you're the only one open because your mana's screwed.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to hit you. Nobody even, like, thinks, like, oh, I feel bad. Or so we'll say, oh, I feel bad, but he's doing it, and he's, like, has a big grin on his face. I feel so bad. Really. Oh, so terrible. Oh, my heart is
terrible. I get a trigger.
I get a trigger.
That's how I show empathy. By laughing and
all
smiling.
it takes is like a clue token. He can get a clue. He doesn't even not even a clue token, like a blood token, and he'll do it. He'll hit you for 20.
You gotta get that value.
Seth's attack
I mean,
for
if
a
you
lot
get
less.
value from it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you then say, oh, I'm attacking you because I want that treasure anyway, and actually I have a hatred in hand, and I can kill you, so I kill you, that would be... I'd probably say, yeah. Unless it's the situation where Seth had to kill me with a hatred because otherwise I would have killed the table, then of course...
Even that one I still kind of wonder about a little bit. Like, you were pretty far ahead, but
pretty far ahead.
I stopped wondering the game after where he grinded us out with a Sharoom for like 2 hours, right? Like,
yeah, so I guess it was probably
I think it depends
correct.
on the commander. Like, I was running Brigid. I don't think you're scared of Brigid. You don't really have a clock to take me out. But like, if somebody's running, I don't know, like Joyra, and it's like, as soon as I cast Joyra, I'm gonna draw half my deck and win the game. Well, okay, now you have to stop them before they cast Joyra, right? Like, yeah, you stumbled on mana, and that sucks because you don't get to play the game. But like, I will attack. If I think a person will just win the game if they just like cast their commander and untap with it one time. I won't feel bad about taking them out because that's the style of play that they're on, right?
Yeah.
But if they're going for like a low power jank commander and they're stumbling on mana, then I'll be like, okay, I want to see what they're going to do because I know that even if they have 1 or 2 turns, maybe they'll be in a decent position after that. But they're not going to be like threatening to end the game So I think it depends on the commander largely.
And that also adds to where, like, yes, I think that you might be the a-hole if you're upset that you're playing, like, let's just say a Shroom deck, and then you're getting beat mercilessly because you're like a land away from looping everybody. And you're
or like when I was playing Lonis, like I'm not asking for your sympathy when I'm playing Lonis or something like that. It's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna literally crash Moto with my manufactured triggers. So like, that's actually saving the game by taking me out before
you're
Moto
the hero.
It's like, and I think that also comes to the other side. It's like, you shouldn't. I don't think it's warranted to be. It's not warranted to be salty, period, and that's something I have to work on personally. But it's especially not warranted if you're playing a deck that like will win if you're given a single turn of opportunity. I don't think it's warranted to complain when you're being taken out before you're allowed to do anything, because when you do something, you win the game. So like, people, if they want to have a chance at winning, they have to take you out. So that's how it goes sometimes.
And I think knowing that your commander is like that is important too, because we've had a few instances where people just didn't realize. Like Richard played Orvar, not realizing that Orvar is the kind of commander that tends to be viewed as like, if you untap with this, you're going to win the game. And everyone was attacking him, and Richard was like, why are you guys attacking me? Like, I don't get it. And everyone else was like, we've seen Orvar before. So I think like understanding the power level of your own deck is also important in those scenarios.
Yeah, that's
I
very
did
true.
play Orvar. It was disgusting.
Yeah, I remember that game. It was super disgusting.
Why did you attack my Breya deck? I don't understand.
Yeah, my Breya deck did nothing. I didn't even get the caster. It's like, yeah, good. Good. All right. Moving on. Phil, what do you got for us?
Oh, I've got something that happened to me. So the situation is not wrathing an enormous board if it doesn't improve your odds of winning. So I don't know if people remember, but we had I think the uncommon week from New Capenna, and I had 3 mana bobs and 3 lands, and the rest had like 7 lands, and Toma was well ahead playing Elf Ball, and I could have Blasphemous acted my entire board, leaving me with 3 lands and only 7 drops in hand. Or I could have waited to see if I draw one more land and play Decree of Pain. And I did the mistake of saying, oh, I do have a board wipe, but I'm not playing it, which really stirred the fire of conversation there, especially in the comments. But I still feel you're not obligated to like regulate the board. It's like, if I would have crushed any chances of ever coming back while giving the other 2 players a chance of coming back. I did phrase it as, hey, I want to play game 2 because I want to play a new game. I should have probably not done this as well. But in principle, I wouldn't be... Nobody is responsible to clean up the board. It's like, I'm not going to make any... I don't know. Okay, no. No jokes here. But nobody is responsible for the health of the board state. If somebody goes off, it's your decision. If you want to deal with it, if you think it's better not to, then don't do that.
Phil, you ever watch The Watchmen or read it?
Yes, I watched the movie.
Okay. Do you remember the line that Rorschach says that they'll look up and screaming, "Save us," and I'll look back and I'll look down and whisper, "No." You were in that position, and I like that.
I agree with Phil that no one's obligated to play their cards in their hand. I do think the content complicates it, though. The fact that we have open hands and that everyone can see, like, that doesn't change your responsibility. But I think if you don't do it and everyone knows you're not doing it, you got to expect that you're going to take a little gruff for it. Like, I don't think it's wrong for, like, if you're like, hey, I can wrath the table and save everyone, but I'm not going to. I don't think it's wrong for the rest of the table to be like, oh, come on, dude. Like, but at the same time, I also don't think you're obligated to cast that spell. My answer would be just like, don't say it. Just keep your mouth shut, and then no one's gonna know that you didn't cast it, and it's whatever.
Definitely,
if I was in your
advertise
position,
it. I would advertise it.
If I was in your position, I would have just said nothing and then passed it, because you literally would have knocked yourself into the Stone Age. You would have lost most of your mana, because most of your mana you had like 2-3 lands out, and then you had like basically just like mana dorks and stuff to let you cast spells. And if you had one more land drop, you could have gotten a much better board wipe the next turn. So I think I would 100% not have cast it, but I wouldn't have advertised it either.
Yeah.
Because you pass a turn, there's a chance that the other two also have a board wipe, and there's also a chance that the next turn I don't actually win the game or do anything. You didn't know that I had a Teferi's Protection in my hand. But
that would have been such a blowout.
That would have been brutal.
So after that first turn, but also somebody had a counter magic for my Teferi's Protection. So there was a lot of complications there. And I think 100% I wouldn't have done it. And I just wouldn't have said anything about it because I think that would have just crippled you too much.
Most people wouldn't do it if they only have their own board state in mind. Look, the viewers obviously saw all 4 board states and don't have a POV necessarily. Like, they just see the game as a whole and think, wait, there's the answer for the problem we got right now. But I'm just playing my game. And, I was hoping for another land.
I think it's more egregious some stuff that Seth did, and I will still give him garbage for that.
Bring it.
Not sacrificing your treasures to a dockside.
I needed those,
objectively wrong. Objectively wrong.
I needed that 3 mana.
You needed that with your Smothering Tithe. You would have made 4 more mana at least.
You can never have enough
on your next turn cycle.
It's never enough.
Yeah, if Phil ever gets flack from the table for that, I'm going to be bringing that up every single time. And then the farewell, more contentious. I still think 100% you get rid of the Lones's player's stack of clues that his deck is built around. You 100% do that. I lose 1 Sol Ring. I lose 10% of my mana.
I will say, with the benefit of hindsight, not sacking the treasures that one game may have been incorrect.
Wrong.
That may have been incorrect. I will stand behind the farewell. I even have math on it. I will show you my math later if you want to see it. I'll show you the percentages. But I thought much about that play, and I'm going to stick with it.
We'll leave it to the viewers to decide. Spoiler alert: they were on my side.
Yeah, but most people are stupid, Tomer, so why would they take their opinions?
Like and subscribe. Edit.
I love you.
Right.
I love you,
I'm people. I'm people. That's me.
Buy our play mats, please.
I'm the stupidest, so we're equal.
Okay.
To close that out, I'd just like to state that I say I have a big brain. It's just smooth. That's all.
I may have 1 or 2 wrinkles. That's because I squint sometimes. Okay, we'll move onward. I guess this is a little bit, probably a fast one, I guess, because it's a little bit kind of what we talked about before, but using removal to affect the board when you're 100% to lose. Like, I know this is more of a question that is geared towards CDH players, because I know this is a hot button topic, but like basically like firing off, like let's say you were being attacked for lethal, right? You have 5 creatures coming at you and it's overkill. And you have 1 Swords to Plowshares in your hand. You can exile one of the creatures that are attacking you, but it won't matter. It will still result in your death 100% guaranteed. Do you still fire that off, even though you know that your win percentage is still going to be 0%? With a total certainty, nobody else is going to intervene. You know that firing your removal spell will not increase your win percentage when you do it. Is that a bad manners move?
No.
If you exile one of the attacking creatures, sure. Yeah. If you exile like a creature from somebody else, I mean, I still think that's funny. I don't think there's any.
All the way out.
I'm gonna sword your Elvish Mystic on my way out later.
That's gotta be fair.
Kill that Nissa on the way out. Hey, Nissa.
Honestly, if you're attacking me for lethal, I'm going to strip mine your lands. I'm going to wasteland your lands. I'm going to empty my hand to removal. Like, you're killing me. Like, I think I might as well like do what I can to like make it painful for you, since you're the one that's taking me out. So
I do think a parting gift on your way out for everyone is also pretty funny. Like, I'm about to die, but on my way out, I'm also going to sword your creature randomly. You're not hitting me, and then on top of that, like, the person hitting me, I'll do worse too, right? Like, I think it's totally fine. I think it's if like, it has to make like I don't find many situations where it wouldn't be like I would be upset if you gave a parting gift on your way out. Let's just go with that.
Yeah.
I think especially if you announce it ahead of time, be like, hey, if you attack me, I'm going to blow up one of your things on the way out. I'm still going to die. You're still going to kill me. But as a deterrent, I'm going to remove one of your things. Yeah. And I know like the first half when you don't announce it, CDH players get froth at the mouth, or at least some of them do.
Really?
Based on my interactions. Yeah. They think it's like if you can't increase your EV, you never take that play because you're not playing to the spirit of CDH. But I think like if you're using it as leverage, be like, hey, if you attack me, I'm going to blow up one of your things. You're still going to kill me, but I'm going to blow up one of your things. People have a problem with that.
Wait, there's a way to make CDH players froth at the mouth. I want to play. I want to play.
They have been known to be salty somehow, even CDH players.
Here's a question.
I want to do it now.
What if you're at 3 life and somebody miraculously actually plays the lightning bolt and targets you, and in response you overload a cyclonic rift? Is that BM?
Hell yeah!
It's like the most brutal
just the
thing.
middle finger on the way out.
Yeah.
I mean,
how is that?
Is it BM? Maybe, but it's very trolly, and I'll do it anyway.
Yeah,
if I'll be considered BM, I'm doing it.
Your move, your go.
I mean, I would think of you as the jerk. Like, but if you're doing that play, you probably want to be perceived as the a-hole at the table anyway. Like that's the reason to make that play.
I guess that kind of also answers that.
Yeah.
You are the a-hole, but you're gonna do it anyway.
You're embracing it.
But the a-hole we love. So
So do we check mark yes on a-hole?
I guess that you're right. Maybe a parting gift makes you an a-hole, but it's acceptable, right? Like for sure. Pop off.
If you're getting killed, it gives you a free pass for anything. I think. So, like if you scoop and say, I play Cyclonic Rift and I scoop and just go home, like, that would be. But if you're getting killed, you can do whatever you want. I mean, you're already punished as hard as you can, so might as well deal some damage. The Cyclonic Rift is brutal.
So yes, a-hole, but still we will do it.
That's okay.
We'll still do it. All right. Okay, moving on. Krim, what do you got for us?
Well, this one is we've probably all done it or seen it at some point. Breaking deals. Let's say something, you make a deal, but the situation has changed, or the deal has worked out to now where like the situation's changed enough to where the deal you had just made prior would essentially be king making, right? Like I is that okay? Like, is it ever okay to break deals?
Only if you find a funny loophole. Otherwise, I think it's a bit disingenuous and nobody will make deals with you again.
So you just gotta want it more. All right, got it.
I mean, if you find a funny way.
Well,
yeah.
We just had a game where I made a deal with Phil not to attack me so we could attack Tomer. I managed to actually kill Tomer with my attack. And then Phil, he did, to his credit, stick to that deal. I think there's maybe some argument that Phil would be absolved of that deal in that situation. Or, like, even in that situation, should you stick to your deal, even though the game state changed so greatly? Because when the deal was being made, I was actually, honestly, it wasn't as much of a trick as people thought. I was actually not realizing that I could straight up kill Tomer because I thought he would block, and he didn't end up blocking because my thing had trample. So I thought that we were both going to have to attack him. But with how it played out, Tomer ended up just dying to one attack. Did Phil still need to keep the deal in that scenario, even though, like, a huge part of it ended up changing, although technically he did say he wasn't going to attack me the next turn. I think that's where there's a little more gray area.
I think
congrats to Tomer for playing chicken and not backing out. I like that. Good old game of chicken. Second off.
I think Tomer's play was right, like, given the circumstances, too. I don't think Tomer made a mistake. But
I didn't have the information in your hand that you're going to
you didn't know what I had, so, right. Yeah.
I don't think Phil is then forced to, like okay, if Phil, I guess obviously it's in, like, the details, right? Like, if I told you I'm not going to hit you for a turn cycle, okay, I won't hit you for a turn cycle. But if it's like, oh, I'm not going to attack Tomer or whatever, and that's the deal, and then Tomer's gone, that does change the play a little bit, right? And maybe this adds to why there's like 4-hour commander clashes, right? So
I think,
I think you are absolved. I don't think Phil needed to uphold that anymore. The board state has changed enough. The game has changed enough to where you are able to changed things up a little. You've hit the restructuring in the contract.
I don't know. I think so. If the deal was I attack Tomer, sure, is what I would consider a loophole.
Illegal attack. You can't do
wasn't
that
there
anymore.
like a planeswalker or something? And somebody's in the comments said, well, you could have at least attacked the planeswalker. I think you had the wanderer, not emperor, just the wanderer planeswalker. So I should have attacked this because that would be not what but I explicitly said, hey, I'm not going to attack Seth. So.
Oh, you're not going to attack Seth. Oh, and then you attack Seth?
No,
I
didn't.
didn't.
He upheld his deal, but
otherwise I would have won, I think. I think I had lethal.
I think you could have killed me.
Yeah.
I will say from my perspective, if you had swung out at me, I probably would have given you a little bit of a hard time about it, but I would have been like, enough change that I wouldn't have held it against you, honestly. Like, I can definitely see an argument for Tomer being dead changing the terms of our deal there. If you wanted to make that argument, I probably would be like, I'll give you a hard time, but I'll let it slide. So
that's not worth the win.
But I definitely respect that you held onto the deal, even though you probably could have weaseled your way out of it if you wanted to and gotten away with it. So I definitely respect that. Makes me know for future games that Phil is someone who, even though he could have probably found a loophole to get away with it, like Phil's someone that's actually going to stick to his deal, even if it would really benefit him not to. So for future games, I'm going to remember that, and like that'll probably work to your benefit, I would say.
I mean, that's as soon as you break one deal, nobody's going to trust you again.
But I mean,
so you only get one of.
Is that any different than like? So, I was like at Command Fest Richmond. I played a game where I made a deal, right? And the deal was that I would not kill this person, right? And I would help them. But what I did was I let the attacks and everything go through, and their health went to 1. I helped them just enough to make it so that, hey, you're at 1, so
you're technically alive.
You're technically alive. I weaseled my way out of it so that all I did was make sure that I put myself in a position where I don't die, and you're at 1, so it's incentivized that you hit them anyways. So, like, you're not directly killing them, but I do think that you can. I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, like the deals, I think you can make them. But I think you can, as easy as you can make them, you can change the deal if enough has changed. I'm talking about like actually changed, not like that they went up a land. I'm gonna kill you now. Like you know what I mean? Like I do think that if that I made that deal, but that was before you played like 19 Planeswalkers, right? If you played.
Depends on the wording. If you find a loophole, make it funny and it's fine.
Yeah.
And make it make sense, like attacking the planeswalker instead of the player, for example.
We're going to hold on to the deal until you have a good board state and then the deal's off. I don't know.
Yeah,
it depends on the deal. But
I mean, obviously that's...
You gain 5 life. The deal is off.
That's
again, I guess the difference here is that like... I do make deals that are very much so have an emergency red button for me, right? So, so yes, you do have to, like, Seth has specifically learned this as the way he words most of our deals now. He's like, and you also can't do this.
I'm very careful. Yes, I have learned. I mean, I will say too, like, I think you could argue that making and breaking deals is part of the game. So I would not view you as a person as an a-hole because you broke a deal in the game, but it would make me very hesitant to make deals with you and trust you in the future. Like, I'm thinking of Jake. Like, I didn't think Jake was an a-hole, but Jake was also the type of player who would make a deal and then literally just be like, I lied, ha ha ha, do the opposite. And we all stopped making deals with him because we knew that you can't make a deal with Jake because there's no way he's gonna uphold it. So
I don't break deals. I will, like, I might break deals by accident, but I won't consciously ever break a deal. I think that's kind of important because, especially in a regular play group, like Seth said, if you're known for breaking deals, then the weight of your deals are no longer valid. But I'm going to Uno reverse card this situation. I think it's kind of BM to make some of the deals that we make pretty often on Commander Clash where, like, I'm going to go for second, or I'm not going to touch you until XYZ person's dead. Like, I feel like it goes so beyond that it's kind of BM to the person who's left out of the deal, where you basically be like, you know what, instead of playing a free-for-all game, we're just going to make it like 2vx. You know, like, it's just going to be for the rest of the game, turn 5 or something. We're going to just be like, hey, I won't attack you for the rest of the game, and you don't attack me for the rest of the game, and I'm going to let you draw all the cards off XYZ effect. Like, I'm never going to pay for your heuristic, and in return, you're never going to remove any of my spells, like any of my permanents or something. Like, something nonsense like that. And it kind of, like, compared to, like, any other
trade
play group.
Secrets.
Yeah, no other play group do I ever have like such a degree of the politics, and I'm usually also the one left out of the loop, and it does genuinely feel bad being the person who's like outside of this political sphere,
Tomer.
And people make the most grand treaties.
Tomer,
of like,
just start making that treaty with me.
I just don't like that's not how I play Commander. Like, I don't like making a political truce with a person at the table where, like, I'm going to play 2vx until we're the last people standing, and then we're going to play a game of Commander because I signed up for a free for all game. So it just, I don't know. It feels
but is it
feels
not
bad
smart
when you make
in a free for all to like pick your allies, right? For,
sure,
like,
but I signed up for free for all, and then, like, yes, politics is good, but to an extent, just like does it not make sense to bring an Urza deck to your table because you know Urza has a high EV? Like, yes, it does, but also you're kind of a dick if you bring an Urza deck to a casual table. Like, same thing with politics. You can go too far with it, and I think, like, if you make certain treaties, they can kind of step over the line because the people who are left out of the treaties are basically, they lost the game on the get-go because you just made a handshake. I don't know.
I never considered it from that perspective, but that is intriguing. The idea
Somebody
is
on the
interesting.
receiving end, hi, hello. That's how it feels sometimes. It feels like there's a agreement. I don't go for these because again, this is not how I like playing the game. So I'm left out usually, and then I kind of feel like I'm just going to be out of the game in a couple of turns.
I guess
because I didn't shake somebody's hand early enough.
What about then taking the person? Because, like, it's unless you somehow manage to unite the table to hate you entirely. And it's a 3v1. Why then don't you just immediately just politic with the other person left out?
Yeah, hopefully you do.
So I guess, like, that's why I've never been too worried about those deals, I guess, because then I just like, okay, well, fine, it's you two, and then I'll just make this deal with the other person that's left out.
But if it happens so often, it's like, I thought it was a free-for-all game, but I guess we're just signing up for 2v2 versus 2v2. Like, every once in a while
lends itself to eventually, at points, a good amount of points will always be a 2v1 or something like that, right?
Usually an arch enemy.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to get ahead, and then the table has to band together to stop them. But then once they're behind, then that's it. I hate the treaties that are like, I'm going to leave you for last, and then you, like, announce this on turn 4 or whatever, and then for the rest of the game, they are on a team, and it doesn't matter the rest of the board state, they're on a team until the very end. Like, that always bothered me a lot.
Didn't you say that to me, though, personally, when you played into my broadcasted opposition agent on turn 4? I'm going to kill you for the rest of the game now, Krim.
Maybe, but I also always respected it ever since. I don't remember that game. I remember I respected. Have I not respected your opposition agent every other game? Krim? I look at 3 mana, 1 black, and I will always respect it no matter what. Is that not true?
Okay, you're right. That's fair. That's fair.
So there it is. I learned my lesson. But yeah. Sometimes, I don't know. I feel like politics goes a little bit too far in our group.
I think we make deals over stupid things for sure. And I could definitely see how being left out could definitely feel bad if you're not doing the politics game and everyone else is. So that's something I'll definitely think about because I hadn't considered it from that perspective. Kind of like the red curse, not realizing at first that, hey, maybe this feels bad if you're the one getting targeted with it. Maybe it's one of those scenarios and it actually feels worse than I realized. So.
Like, I will try not to go into agreements that extreme, and then it's easier to not feel bad about backing out of it, because if you say I'm going to leave that person until the very last, but then they combo off, and you have like 1 turn to kill them, and you say I can't because I agreed to leave them for last, well, you're in a bit of a pickle there. But if those agreements don't happen in the first place, you could always say no to those type of agreements, right? Like. So, I don't know.
I do believe that, so, like, my final thing on that is just, I do believe, though, that also be reasonable with your deal. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try to be like, oh, let me win the game, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna be upset when you interact with me because I try to win the game either. Like, if we make this deal and then I try to pop off and win the game, and you made some deal like, oh, don't touch my stuff. Okay, I won't touch your stuff. But if you're gonna win the game, I think I will interact with that, right? Is it okay to then interact with it?
I think sometimes there's been some cool moments. I think it was on game nights where they made a deal where they said, "I'm not going to attack you this turn, but in return, I want you to not counter the next sorcery I cast." And then 30 minutes later into the game, the sorcery is cast, and it was the game-winning thing. And I thought that was kind of funny. But I wouldn't want that to happen often, and I probably would say no to that deal sometimes. But sometimes it's funny. I don't know. So yeah, it depends, I guess. I wouldn't do it that often, though. I'd probably say no to that deal.
So group consensus, you
fishy.
are an a-hole if you break a deal.
I think so. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Unless you find a funny loophole, then it's...
but then are you
great.
breaking the deal if there's a loophole?
No,
So there's some gray
lawyering.
areas there. But
Yeah.
well,
Don't kill me next turn. I won't attack you, and then you combo kill. And it's like, yeah, you got it.
That's fine.
I got a quick and easy one for y'all next on my list. I think we all agree that playing proxies is fine. I think that's something we've all come to the conclusion of. But something I've seen people talk about is being offended by people not telling them before the game that they're playing proxies. Like just sitting down to a game and then next thing you know, there's some, proxied fetch lands or whatever that just start showing up. Is it bad manners? Are you a jerk if you play proxies but don't tell anyone and people just discover that as the game goes along that your cards are proxied? Or is there no obligation to actually announce that to anyone? And just to make it clear, we all agree proxies are fine. We're all in support of proxies in general. It's more the rule zero aspect of this. So
I don't see what's the difference of me telling you and not telling you, right? Like it's proxies. Who cares? I just want you to play the game, right? And if you have the cards to play the game, we're not billionaires, so I get it. Also, you could be playtesting on top of that, right? There's so many reasons why you have to proxy, and to be honest with you, it saves time that I don't have to hear how you got from A to point B to C and all that, and why you need to try this. Just try it out. I believe you. Do your thing.
It's so weird because if you play CDH, you just assume everybody has proxies because obviously nobody's going to spend or most people cannot spend $10,000 US on a pile of cardboard. But then this becomes kind of more of a hot button topic in casual where it's you're allowed to play Volcanic Island and fetches and everything, but only if you spent the money for it. Otherwise get out of here. And it's
I think it's
we agree. Yeah, we agree that proxying's okay, but I've had people announce, but I don't think you need to. And I think if anybody was okay, here's the follow up on the flip side is would you be the asshole if somebody said, I have proxies in my deck, and you said, I don't want to play against that deck? Because that's basically what the question is for, right? If you have to announce it, that means that you're basically giving the people the opportunity to say, no, I don't want to play against a deck with proxies in it. And I would say 100%, if you say that you don't want to play at a casual game of Magic, that you don't want to play against proxies, then you're the asshole. That's straight up. So that's why I don't think the requirement of disclaimering is important because if there's anybody who would say no to it, I wouldn't want to play with them anyway. They're an asshole.
I agree with that for sure.
I gotta say though, especially now that I play Paper Magic again, I'm super obsessed with Old Border.
Yeah,
and I love old foils or just old border, cool versions of cards. And while I obviously accept proxies and kind of expect them, I can't really imagine somebody forking off so much money for a CEDH deck or something. I do get the point if you play your old border foil Urza that you just spend $60 on and somebody counters it with a plains that has a little sheet of paper ripped up and says, mana drain, and I get 5 mana for it. And I do get that if you don't announce this, and this is the first time you come in contact with the proxying in the opponent's deck and say, oh, this just countered my the card that I just spent last week's paycheck on, and it was just not that it's reasonable, but it's understandable that people who invest.
I think that's a wake-up call to people who
think...
spent their paycheck on something, right? Like that should be like, you should be comfortable in spending that much money. Like if you spent that much and then you feel bad because you're like, oh, I just spent my paycheck on this, and somebody countered it with a piece of paper. It's like, well, your thing's also a piece of paper.
Yes, but you do pay for the optics. And you're in the same game as the other player. And if the other player has negative optics, like a planes with a ripped up piece of paper, and you have the absolute bling, it's like, I don't know, some people don't want to be seen with people. Like, some clubs have, like, dress codes, and you don't get in there if you don't look cool. You don't say to the other way, you can wear your fancy clothes. I came here with, like, swim shorts. I'm not going to let this one fly. So I do get to the point that people...
Why would that be on the person casting the mana drain with a piece of paper, right? Like, why is that on them? Like, that you want to bling, right? And you want to do all these things.
I just said that I do understand people.
Right.
Like,
so I don't think that it should, like, if you're the Urza player blinging out, I don't think you should care. You blinged it out for yourself, right? That's great. You own these cards. You own these. That's great for you. If you're that player, I actually think it'd be kind of weird that you'd be upset that someone else doesn't want to bling everything out.
If it's also optics, like, there was a secret lair that was for Sick Kids Hospital, and it was drawn by like 5-year-olds and stuff that you have like a crater hoof, for example, and it's drawn by a 5-year-old. And I think it's a beautiful, wholesome thing. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at the art without the background, it's a little 5-year-old's doodle of a crater hoof, which is like a circle, two things for the eyes and stuff. Like, I'm sorry, Sick Kid, but I can draw better than that, right? Like, so I think that out of context is bad. But like, isn't that the same thing of like, I wrote down on a piece of paper and I doodled like a mana drain, like that's a legal card. Like, if I played that at a tournament, that 5-year-old drawing of a crater hoof, that sounds worse than I'm trying to make it out. But that's what I'm trying to say is your blinged out old foil retro Urza that was drawn by a professional is being countered by a mana drain that may have been drawn by a 5-year-old Sick Kid. And great, very wholesome, but also it looks like a scribble.
Just say whitewater. I think that's the same.
I'm not editing it out.
Some cards look horrible, but I was just committing, just rolling with it. He's just,
he's all right.
Think about it.
No, I was just playing devil's advocate for people. Like, I do get, if people spend their entire life life spendings, life earnings, whatever, all their money into cards, and they share the board state with another player, and the other player does the exact opposite, I do get why people say, well, I spent so much money to make them look insanely cool, and this looks awful to some. Hey, obviously, I don't care what you
Art's subjective, all right.
Yeah, just tell them it's from secret layer proxies. Just tell them from secret layer proxy or Proxemius. There it is, Proxemius.
I love the secret lair children's the Sick Kids, by the way. I'm just on the record. I'll run it. Okay? It's nice.
Just keep it up.
Great. All right?
Tomer, I'm just very curious, Tomer. How can you see the other side of the planet by now? You're digging pretty deep. Like, you're going hard right now, dude.
It's very wholesome.
Damn,
I
dude.
hope more endeavors happen like that. It was great. And I'm just saying.
I mean, Tomer's right. Sick kids aren't always that good at art. You're right. Technically.
Thank you.
It's hard when you're little and sick. Yeah. All right, let's
really nice, I'm sure.
Let's move on to our next topic that is hopefully not about sick kids. Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
How did we end up here?
I'm putting it on the YouTube.
It feels like I wandered into the wrong part of the internet.
Yeah.
I'm getting canceled for this. Oh boy. All right, Phil, what do you got for us?
Okay, so next one
Please
is
be better than our last one. Please be
making plays that seem good, but actually aren't. And there's a specific one here: strip mining bounce lands. You have a strip mine, and the opponent plays a bounce land. Technically, that's a 2-for-1, right? You spend 1 mana to destroy 2 of the opponents. But in practice, it obviously doesn't really help you as much as it just super screws over one opponent, but it also screws you over. So in this particular situation, you could say this is just wrong, although it feels pretty good if the opponent just is way ahead and you can get them back a bit. But I remember a scene where we played on the stream with MTG Mudstar, and I copied a acidic slime, and I had enough copies to have too much targets, pretty much. And then I started targeting lands, and the first land I target is Mudstar's bounce land. And I still feel kind of bad about it. It's like... Ugh. So it kind of falls under land destruction in casual. Yeah, sure, but it felt super bad. His chat also, I checked back in his live stream of the situation, and the chat loved it. It's like a little bit of land destruction in casual, but I think strip mine and bounce lands comes up more often than land destruction, because you should put land destruction in your decks for things like Field of the Dead or something, but sometimes you feel like, oh, I might just blow up this bounce land, and is it ever okay? I don't know.
I don't think you're under an obligation to make the correct play in a game of Commander. I think that we play Commander for a lot of reasons, and I think this is doubly true of content, where we're also like trying to be entertaining. Like, that's part of the goal of recording a 2 or 3 hour Commander game, is for it to be entertaining to watch. So I think there's a lot of competing interests, and I would say for me, I just find strip mining bounce lands funny. I know that win percentage wise, it is probably, well, actually definitely not the correct use of my strip mine, but I think it's funny, and I've kind of made a thing out of making a point that I will do it if I get the opportunity. So I don't, does that make me the a-hole? I guess you all should be the ones judging, not me, because I'm probably a little biased here. I would lean towards no, but I mean, what do you all think?
I agree.
Commandeer strip mine, hello.
I agree that I think that when it comes to like playing Commander, right, like making the right play is not what I'm ever trying to do. Sometimes it is just like make for the memes, as you can see. Seth has admitted that for the memes, it, though, is not adding to your win percentage, it's adding to your emotional win percentage, and that's all that matters, right? So like I think that like I don't think you're under obligation to have to do the right play. And I think it is hilarious if you want to commit to the memes. So run it. You are not the a-hole for doing that. Although the person getting strip mine might say otherwise.
What do you think, Tomer? You've been on the receiving end of maybe the most brutal version of the strip mine on a bounce land.
Microphone in Tomer's face.
It's like, all right, well, you are, but also I think it was the most iconic moment of Commander Clash, right? So it was 100% worth it. And as content creators, 100% you go for the entertaining play over the optimal play, because we're playing casual Magic. But also, as much as I harp on win percentage, like I try to play to win with whatever deck that I have, and I try to bring a deck that is, equal footing. And then I just try to play it as optimally as possible. Like, that's what I go for. But also, we're also casual. We're also playing casual. We're not playing competitive. So sometimes you just want to go for the most optimal entertaining play. And I think that's a totally valid thing. And I think we all take those plays as well. I remember Phil, instead of he had a Garuda hit that was really good, and we bullied him into getting a sponge. And the sponge was hilarious. Like, how much better was that video? Because he got the sponge over the other thing. The other thing was boring, and he got a sponge, and the sponge was hilarious.
And the sponge was broken. It was actually super good. It might have been the correct choice in how the game played out.
The only reason why you haven't heard backlash from that is because the people that normally scream at the monitor when you're supposed to make the correct play threw their computer at the window. So they are actually not able to leave a negative response.
Yeah. So I say blow up that strip mine if it's funny. Also, if I know you're playing Kodama of the East Tree or whatever, the one that can make infinite, then I'm going to be blowing it up 9-10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
you
there
to
was-
have that, Mr. Green.
There was actually one situation where I ended up with a 1v1 with Richard in the end. And people in one comment pointed out that had I destroyed it was when I played the Duke or whatever, when we played Baldur's
Boros
Gate
one.
Commander.
Yeah.
Right, the Boros Myriad one. And I was in a 1v1 with Richard. And somebody told me that if I had used my strip mine to blow up Richard's bounce land there, that Richard couldn't have deployed X and I could have won earlier. So sometimes it's even the correct play, although this was a 1v1 situation. The problem with this whole play is that both players go down resources, so nobody wins technically.
Yeah.
If there's just two players, you obviously should probably do it because you go down a bit less. Still rough. But in this case, it was actually correct to do it.
I mean, it's like Ristic Study. Is it correct to pay for Ristic Study?
Jeez.
Maybe. Am I ever going to do it?
It's correct to not play it.
No.
Nope. Well, I'm banning Ristic Study debate on the podcast. All right, we've done.
Okay, no Ristic
We've
Studies.
done way too much on the Ristic. I'm vetoing that discussion. I was right,
okay.
by the way. The viewers were on my side. I'm not discussing it. That's it. That's the last.
That sounded like a discussion,
here.
Tomer.
Yeah, that sounded like you were trying to discuss it.
What do you think? I think we covered 2 topics each person, so
We made it through 8. I'm impressed. I didn't think we were going to get through that many because we had some pretty big debates on some of these. So
Yeah, we ramble a lot sometimes, but we got an hour and 30.
Yeah, funny.
Perfect.
Also, Seth, you mentioned the red curse, and
yeah,
I do
there
have
it
it.
is.
Yeah.
I love that
What
card.
deck is it? What deck is it in?
Well, I got
Or not yet.
I got the double feature version, so I took it out of
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. What curse was it? Just for the viewers,
curse of hospitality. What a
Curse of
great! I love that
Hospitality.
card.
Get it signed by Richard. I feel like that would be the most apropos. All right. Well, we went over 8 topics. And yeah, let us know what you think about these topics. Do any of these make you a jerk? Make you the a-hole at the table? Why or why not? If you disagree with us, let us know, because these are just our opinions, obviously. And are there any other situations that you feel are kind of ambiguous, where it's not a clear-cut yes or no on the a-hole? Let us know in the comment section, and maybe fellow commenters can figure out, give their 2 cents on that, or we can chime in as well on whether or not it's a yes or a no on that one. All right, everybody, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, friends. See ya!